Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Three-Man Weave, live here from the basement of Value City Arena. The Buckeyes defeat the Hoosiers tonight, 80-63, in front of a sold-out home crowd. Definitely a tough place to play, and the Hoosiers really didn't have a chance from the start. Jordan Holz hit a jumper to start the game, 2-0 lead, and from there went downhill. IU at one point was down 14-7, 15:31 mark of the first half. The rest of the way, Cody Zeller was the only man to score over the next 16 minutes. Defense, Buckeyes, that Mata called after the game, something that you dream of. I believe they forced 12 first half turnovers, and IU only had 6 made field goals on 22 attempts. That is not good offense for the Hoosiers. Ohio State definitely had a little revenge on their minds after IU knocked them off over winter break. Connor, talk about Lenzel Smith, the hero of the game, a guy that was probably low on the Hoosiers scouting page, but definitely rose quickly to the top.
Yeah, I mean, I said it in my story. Ohio State has 4 guys that are in CBS's preseason top 100 players in the country, and you know what? Lenzel Smith wasn't one of those 4 guys. And for him to come out and drop 28 points, I mean, this is a guy that's averaging 5.2 a game. I mean, Crean said it in the post-game presser. He basically chalked it up to Thad Matta's coaching, which a little bit surprising to hear Crean give Thad Matta the nod there, but Smith just really took over, caught fire from deep, was 4 for 5 from 3-point range, 10 of 12 from the floor. Really showed an impressive performance. Jordan Holz on defense was absolutely atrocious tonight. I don't know what in the world he is attempting to do when he faces these bigger guards, but for whatever reason, he gets beat off the first dribble every single time, and he leaves his man open too many times. And tonight was a product of a guy that really played out of his mind with Jordan Holz on him, and we've seen that happen before. We saw it happen against Kentucky with Jeff Teague in the second half.
Marcus Teague.
Or with Marcus Teague, Jeff Teague on the mind, NBA still. It's still in NBA mode. But, you know, it was another example of Holz really letting his guard down defensively, and it was something that really hurt IU tonight because he was the main guy fueling the Buckeye offense for most of that first half.
Smith Jr. did not practice all week. Thad Matta said he went a little bit on Saturday, suffering from strep throat, and he's done this to the Hoosiers before. He had 12 points on New Year's Eve against IU. Those are the only 2 times all year that he scored in double figures. And Connor, you kind of mentioned how Holz was guarding Smith Jr. I think coming into the game, the big matches were how you going to guard Kraft, Buford. Obviously, Solinger gets all the pub, and rightfully so, but that was kind of the big backcourt matchups, putting Victor on Buford, Verdell Jones for his length on Kraft. And Smith kind of talked about how in the first matchup he had wide open looks, or he felt like he had some chances to have some open looks, and again he had those same ones tonight, and that was the big thing, him knocking down those open shots, because you have to double Solinger in the post, or then IU in zone. They weren't able to get out on Smith, so it was kind of that 5th guy that really killed the Hoosiers tonight.
Yeah, I really, this can't really be emphasized enough, because Jordan Holz talked about all offseason about how much he worked to improve defensively, and we haven't seen it. Jordan Holz has been run off the floor in every single Big Ten game this year, and tonight was an example of a guy that, yes, Lenzel Smith, give him credit, he made shots, but he made wide open shots, and that was from defensive lapses, and the perimeter defense today was as bad as it was against Minnesota. And for IU to come off of that game, to come off of the Minnesota game, to come out as flat defensively as they did tonight is a real alarming sign going into a Nebraska game where, you know what, winning Big Ten games on the road, it's not easy. I mean, we saw this last week at Penn State. It's not an easy thing. And if you want to be able to beat teams on the road, you got to play with that same top-notch defense that won you 15 games. And if they don't do that, they're going to have problems coming up here.
Defense definitely the big question mark heading into that stretch of Nebraska and Penn State here next week, Connor. But on offense, I mean, Cody Zeller 7 of 10 from the field.
It's only offense.
Right, played another Cody Zeller type game, and I thought it was just typical Zeller. I think people are again taking it for granted. He's going up against a future lottery pick. He finished through contact numerous times. He had a couple nice jumpers, I thought, on the baseline, something you could see more out of him when he's facing up anybody else on offense, or really, I mean, to me, it was Cody Zeller. Nobody else showed up tonight for the Hoosiers on either end of the floor.
Nobody else even deserves a mention offensively. I mean, Matt Roth hit a couple late threes and provided a little bit of a spark to get the Hoosiers within 15, but Zeller was the only guy that showed up. If Cody Zeller doesn't play this game, IU loses by 40, and that's not like just saying, you know, you add Zeller 16 points on top of what IU lost by. I'm talking about the defensive job he did against Jared Solinger. Jared Solinger might be the player of the year. Cody Zeller held him to 2 first half points. All right, that's what's frustrating for an IU team when you get beat by a guy like Lenzel Smith, when you're holding an All-American to 2 first-half points, and you still look up at the scoreboard and you're down 21 at halftime. I mean, it was a night where Cody Zeller was the only one that wasn't rattled by this crowd, and everybody else seemed to panic. Oladipo, Sheehy, all had really rough nights offensively, couldn't get anything going, and it was a really alarming sign for IU fans that were looking for this team to maybe, I mean, it's one thing if shots aren't going down, but they wanted to see that defensive spark, and they didn't see it from anybody other than Zeller tonight, and it's really alarming going forward.
I don't think anybody expected IU to come in here and win, or maybe not, but I think definitely single digits was something that was very doable, and for them to not, really come in here and just get blown out. They cut down to 16 a couple times in the second half, but IU never threatened. Turnovers were a huge problem. Jordan Hulls at 5. Aaron Craft picked his pocket, I think, 2 times in the first forced travel on the second trip down the floor, and then picked his pocket on the next. He had 5 turnovers. Aaron Craft had 7 assists, 0 turnovers. That was the difference right there. You remember back in Bloomington, it was Victor who kind of turned Craft over late in that game. IU had 4 forced turnovers in the last 90 seconds that really paved the victory. But today, I was nowhere to be found. Both ends of the floor. Connor, how about the atmosphere in this arena today? The student section, I was kind of shocked. It really isn't big here at Value City Arena. Kind of behind both the benches and the basket next to the Hoosiers bench, but really Urban Meyer being announced at halftime, he brought his coaching staff out there. That probably had something to do with it. And I think Ohio State definitely had a chip on their shoulder. We saw the pregame video with mentioning
well done
Watford's shot, that this is Ohio, not Indiana, mentioning that Bobby Knight was from Ohio, not Indiana, probably ruffled some feathers in Hoosier land, but I think Ohio State definitely came in, chip on their shoulder. They did have 2 extra days after they lost to Illinois on Tuesday night. I think that definitely has something to do with it as well.
Very much, and you know what shows is how disciplined of a team this is really Ohio State didn't get into any foul trouble. You could chalk up last game to being a very close called game. IU and Ohio State were both in foul trouble, but we mentioned it before. Ohio State's 3 best players were all in foul trouble when IU was able to beat them on New Year's Eve. Tonight they had 1 foul in the first 9 minutes of this game.
Nobody had more than 3 fouls.
Nobody had more than 3 fouls. And if you have Jared Sullinger, William Buford, and you get guys like Lenzel Smith playing like that, playing free and being able to get into the flow of the game, the way Thad Matta allows his players to do, very, very opposite of what Crean has been doing lately with the substitution patterns. You know what? Ohio State is going to play like Ohio State. They're going to look like the team that beat Duke by 22 about a month ago, and they're going to look like one of the best couple teams in the country. That's what they were tonight.
Jared Sullinger, William Buford played combined 20 more minutes than they did in these teams' first matchup. That was the key going in. I had some tweets prior to the game just saying how big foul trouble was in that first game, and simply IU did not play through the contact tonight, and Tom Crean mentioned that after the game. That was one of the big reasons the IU offense struggled in the first half, and really someone got it go in the second half, but it was too little too late. So Connor, any last thoughts going into now you play really the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten Conference? Both teams, I believe, are sitting at 1-4. Nebraska lost 50-45 today to the Badgers. You got to go out, I think, and get 2 wins, get back to 5-3, and then get ready to make the trip up to Madison a week from Thursday.
Yeah, these are 2 absolute must-win games for IU. They can't afford to fall into this tailspin that they've fallen into every single year in the Tom Crean era. They're probably going to fall to about 18 or 19 in the rankings. That's what I would guess after two losses like this, 2 ugly losses.
Maybe even a little lower.
Maybe even a little lower. Who knows? Especially being a primetime game that a lot of people saw on CBS today. Who knows if voters really, give IU a big slight. But these are 2 games that are very, very crucial in IU season, and this could be a huge turning point. If they lose these 2 games, or even 1 out of these next 2, you know what? Maybe this team crawls into the tournament like they did in 2008. If they win these 2 games, who knows? Maybe it springboards them back into the elite status and back into Big Ten title contention.
Jordan Hulls just called it a bad week. They had 8 good weeks. I think both of us would agree with that. Maybe sometimes some great weeks that they've had this year, but this is definitely a bad week for the Hoosiers. They will try to regroup Wednesday, head out to Lincoln to take on Doc Sadler, and as they welcome the Cornhuskers to the Big Ten Conference. So for Connor O'Gara and Kevin Bowen, we'll not be making the trip on Wednesday, but we'll see you guys Sunday when Penn State comes to Assembly Hall. Thanks, guys.